Ever wondered how comfort can be the key to business success? Join us today as we speak with Dan Komforti, a doctor of physical therapy, who not only brings comfort to his patients, but also to his business model. Discover his journey from fresh PT graduate to practice owner, and how he's using personalized care to build a thriving practice. Whether you're a business owner in the healthcare industry or just looking for inspiration to start your own venture, this episode is for you.
Hey, lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Bolts. I'm an attorney and founder of Bolts Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Bolts, owner of Bolts Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the miss in biz.
Let's get biz done.
Today, we are honored to welcome Dan Komforti, a doctor of physical therapy who has truly embraced the heart of healthcare by putting his patients first. Dan's journey began with his graduation from UCF in 2020, and despite the many challenges of stepping into the healthcare field, he chose to create something truly special, a practice built on trust, transparency, and a deep commitment to his patients' well-being. We're going to dive into Dan's inspiring story, explore the obstacles he's overcome, and discover the valuable lessons he's learned along the way. His dedication to creating a patient-centered practice is not just about providing care, but about building meaningful connections and making a real difference. Dan, we're so happy to have you here with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey into your growing your practice and getting involved in your industry?
Absolutely. So like you said, I graduated in 2020 from UCF, went there for my undergrad as well. So during my undergrad, I was on track to do pre-med. I wanted to go to MD school and become a doctor. Did all the prerequisites, did all the shadowing, took the exam to sit for the licensure. But I only got accepted to out-of-state schools, and obviously going somewhere out-of-state could be like double or triple the price. Yeah. And I wasn't 100% committed to becoming a doctor. And obviously with the amount of time and money it takes to invest, I knew that if I wasn't like 110% committed to it, I'd probably consider other options. So after having only got accepted out-of-state, I kind of took a step back and just evaluated what other options are available like in healthcare. So I took opportunities to shadow literally every healthcare profession like under the sun, like veterinarians, dentists, orthodontists, pharmacists, just to figure out more so what I didn't like. And then shadowed some chiropractors, shadowed some physical therapists. And in the rehab field, I think that one thing that is unique to chiropractors and physical therapists is the amount of time that we get to spend with our patients. A lot of orthopedic doctors that are in network, it's a 5-minute appointment at best. With physical therapists, you get to see your patient 1 to twice a week, and you're spending an hour with them, so you get to make more of an impact by actually developing a relationship with them rather than just being a number that comes through a door.
Well, I love that you had the foresight to immerse yourself into so many different industries, from like the veterinarian work that you were overseeing, and chiropractic care, I think you also mentioned. So that really, I think, gave you a good idea or understanding of where you really wanted to go and what direction you wanted to take.
For sure.
So when you started working in physical therapy, What was the indication that you saw or observed that made you realize you needed to open your own practice?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing that I remember is just being surrounded by coworkers that were burnt out. So I was the youngest clinician. Obviously, I was motivated, fresh out of school, wanted to get my feet wet and learn as much as possible, but the opportunities were not there, and the people I was working with were not happy to be physical therapists. They are dreading Mondays, counting down the hours until Friday, celebrating patient cancellations. It just didn't feel like an environment that is, therapeutic really. I started to feel like I was burning out and just spinning a hamster wheel. I didn't see much potential for growth just working for a network clinic. I loved my profession still. I loved the skill set that I was growing. And I knew that if I wanted to remain a physical therapist, I had to do it differently. So I was considering going back to school for something else, but obviously student loans are a thing, and I didn't want to take on more burden. And I didn't completely feel burnt out yet, so I grasped for whatever passion I had left and started a side hustle.
Yeah, well, in your field, burnout is a very real thing because not only do you have the physical aspect of your job, but you're also dealing with people who are in pain. And so then you have to deal with that emotional exhaustion as well. So what were some of the barriers that you faced when you started your own practice?
Definitely working 2 jobs at the same time because I was still working 40 hours a week for a hospital-based clinic and having to see patients on the weekends and evenings for my own practice. So just, burning the candle at both ends. But it was, a commitment that I was willing to make for a short period of time. I know the first few years as a business owner are the toughest and you do have to make some sacrifices. I'm definitely reaping the rewards of that now, having been full-time in my practice the last year. I would say the other sacrifices was being open about the fact that I had my own business on the side to the other people around me in the workspace. I feel like as soon as they learned about it, I'm just being completely transparent, there was almost like resentment towards me. But I'd really try not to let that bug me. I mean, I was really focused on the mission of growing my practice and eventually doing that full time. And I feel like a lot of the time, and it's not specific to physical therapy or healthcare in general, but when other people see you doing something successful that, they don't necessarily have the courage to go do out on their own, it can kind of grow into resentment. And I feel like that's just a human trait that a lot of people have. But I really try not to let it bog me down, even though when I first started working there, I really did love the environment. But over the 2.5 years I was there, things definitely changed.
So for 2.5 years, you worked a full-time job and had a side hustle?
Just a year.
Just a year? That's
so,
still a long
graduated
time.
in 2020, started my practice 2022.
That must take a lot of endurance to be able to balance both a full-time job as well as your side hustle. At what point did you realize that you were going to be able to turn your side hustle into a full-time practice?
So I luckily had the opportunity to go down from 40 hours to 30 hours at my job. So I had a little bit of cushion to grow into my own practice. But so May 2023, I got married, went on my honeymoon. So before we left for New York where we got married, I put my 30 days in with my previous job, and I knew that when I came back, I would probably have a lot of free time and would be committed to growing the business, but there really wasn't a lull. It was just I came back and I was busier than ever. So I wouldn't say that there was a gap where I felt regretful of leaving my previous job.
Do you love the Miss Biz podcast?
Because we love you.
Here's 3 things you can do to show your support.
1, write us a review. Apple or Spotify are the best platforms for reviews.
2, join us for our free Friday Zoom calls at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. To RSVP, go to missbiz.com homepage, scroll down to Miss Biz Connects and click the link.
3, follow us on social media. Our handle is at Miss Biz Podcast.
As always, thank you for your support.
So what did you do to be able to find those new clients or patients for yourself? You've been working for someone else. You were not that many years into the profession that you seemingly had a ton of connections yet. So how did you go about finding new business? I think that is one of the greatest fears that people have in going out on their own is, where am I going to find clients and how am I going to keep them coming in consistently?
I think it was just focusing on the more important stuff at first as far as growing a business. It wasn't like getting the website up and getting the LLC. It was, from day one, building genuine connections. Like the easy stuff is like starting the website and starting the social media stuff. I think it's putting yourself out there and building reputation that others know about. That's the hard stuff. So it literally was just sending emails to, different providers and places where I knew that my ideal avatar was hanging out, and really try to just be continually reaching out to those people and set up meetings with them and just kind of explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and, the future that I hope to build with the practice.
I love that you shared that too, because I do think that many of us think that until I have a website, until I have a social media presence, until I have all these things, a video commercial and and all these things, that I can't take that leap of faith. But you're right that you don't, those things you do need over the course of time, but they're not something that you absolutely have to have day one to start building a reputation and bringing in new clients.
Absolutely. It's paralysis by analysis and thinking that you need all these little small things when those are just the icing on top. And if you're not getting out there and having the conversations and growing your just belief that you are an entrepreneur by, expressing to people what you want eventually, just working in your office on your website is not going to get you anything.
I talked to someone recently who was in a new business who said, I can't meet with that person until I have a LinkedIn business profile. And I thought, okay, like LinkedIn is good and we can do that. It's about a 5-minute process to set up a LinkedIn profile. But realistically, we have to shift that mindset, because if you're always looking at what you need to have or what you think someone is expecting you to have, then you're always feeling inadequate. And if you just have the perception that I'm going to have this meeting and have confidence in myself and what I'm offering and know that I care about what I'm doing and that I'll provide a good service, then that's what people see and that's what people value over, oh, they don't have a LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Not considering this person. It's just kind of we get our priorities out of order sometimes.
Definitely.
Well, your persistence definitely paid off, because I have just loved seeing you grow for the past, year now that I've known you, on just seeing you get your location. And you have 2 locations now, right?
There was a month where I had 2 locations because I was in Sanford sharing an office with somebody, but now I'm in Altamont Springs and I have my own front-facing office and entrance and everything.
That's such a huge accomplishment, because you started off as being mobile, correct?
Right, it was 100% mobile for the first year and a half.
Well, congratulations. That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about your facility.
So I'm located inside of a gym in Altamont Springs. The name of the gym is LunaFit. So I have my own office there. I also get the ability to use the gym with my clients when it's appropriate to actually load them and transition them to higher level activities. But the office is really, I try to create it more as a home feeling environment rather than a medical facility, just so people can feel comfortable in already the vulnerable state that they're in coming to therapy with an injury. So I think it's super important to have that homey vibe in a medical office.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And one of the things that I love is just your commitment to client care, just all the little things that I think that most people don't necessarily think of or prioritize seem to be a true focus of yours. And I think that that's something that really separates you from others in your industry. So what are some other things that you have done to help separate yourself and stand out?
Kind of related to what you just said, I think communication. I think in general, in healthcare, communication is lacking. There's so many gaps in what gets told to a patient and then the questions they have afterwards, and them not being able to express those questions and get appropriate answers. So just being a resource for my patients outside of sessions, even if someone hasn't necessarily become a patient yet, being in their corner and providing them with some knowledge and things that they can start implementing from the moment we have first contact. Like, even if they don't end up becoming a patient, like just being a resource for physical therapy for them in the community. For example, like I had someone today that I'm speaking to, and I spoke to her about a month ago, and she's been sick and in the hospital, and she wants to do physical therapy eventually, and she has terrible migraines. And I told her, like, I don't think it's going to be realistic for us to see each other, for a couple weeks, not because you're in and out of the hospital, but like, let me send you some stuff that you can start working on, and then give me feedback on how it feels, and we can kind of progress and regress from there. And I think that's just lacking in healthcare. Like, people are treated as a number, and it's not a team approach. And I think that letting people know that, I'm not perfect, sometimes I get it wrong, but it's a learning process. And the more feedback my patients give me, the better results they're going to get.
I think that shows a lot about your character, and it's evident in everything that I see of you online and in person. Even your social media videos that you make, they're very client-centric and focused on really giving your clients and even people who aren't your clients key tips that they need to benefit their lives and improve.
For sure.
So when you were kind of coming up with your branding, did you sit down and strategize all these different key aspects that you were going to incorporate, or is it something that just comes natural, or like a combination of both?
Well, back to the communication aspect of my brand, because I feel like people hear the word brand, they think it's like your logo and your colors, but your brand is so much more than that. Mm-hmm. I like to think of your brand as like how people talk about your business behind your back. So what the community is saying about your business. So really being just the over communicator, just really checking in on people, making sure they're doing okay. I feel like as an entrepreneur, my superpower is communication. I go above and beyond to make sure that my patients feel heard and cared for. But as far as like the actual like name and colors and all that, like New Horizons, like fresh start. I think a lot of people have physical therapy in the past, and they get this impression that physical therapy is laying down on a massage table and doing bridges and clamshells, when it has the potential to be so much more than that. And the unfortunate truth is that, a lot of these clinicians that are providing physical therapy in that manner, they're great clinicians just stuck in a terrible system because of insurance limitations and the, productivity standards that a lot of these clinics have for their clinicians.
I love that. Now, what are some key tips that you could give either new business owners or business owners who are considering a rebrand to kind of think about and analyze so that they can incorporate it into their branding as well?
I think if you're going to rebrand something, you have to have a pretty darn good reason for it. And I mean, you're always trying to target your specific market. So if your messaging can better reach those people and get their attention, then maybe consider a rebrand. But similar, like you were saying before, like starting the website and the social media, sometimes rebranding and getting a new logo is just shiny object syndrome. And I've had that before, and I still struggle with it. Like there was a time where I wanted to change my name to New Horizons Performance, and I was like, why would I put the effort to do that? There's so many other things that are more important to work on. So I think there's a give and take with rebranding. But I mean, your brand is important because it represents you, and the name of the business is New Horizons Physical Therapy. It's not Daniel Komforti because I want to grow beyond myself. We can talk about my vision for the future later on in the interview, but like, I don't want people to recognize me as the treating therapist. I want them to recognize this brand that takes care of them.
Absolutely. I know that when we had spoke on the phone previously, you had mentioned the impact that mentors have had and have influenced your journey into your growth and your development. Can you share a little bit about the role that mentors have played in your business journey?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, learning from other people's mistakes that are in a place that you want to get to eventually, I think is crucial for any business. But some pivotal moves that I've made this year are, I'm all cash based right now, but I was accepting Medicare before, and making a lot of exceptions for insurance patients as far as, taking lower reimbursement and, driving to their house when it wasn't profitable. Mm-hmm. From a certain aspect, it's good marketing because I'm getting my name out there more, but it was burning me out and, not for the right reasons. The other thing is, cutting back on the mobile. there's a huge need for mobile, and I still do provide a little bit of mobile. I'm not taking on any new mobile patients, but as far as like my vision and growing a team and a culture, that's what really excites me, is like having this awesome facility that people come to, and it's more than just physical therapy. Because I mean, physical therapy is not fun. It's not fun to rehab an injury and be in pain. But if you can create a brick and mortar where people are excited to go, that offers more than just physical therapy, and they feel connected to the people there, I think that can really have a lot of potential to just elevate the rehab field in general.
Right. I love the passion that you have and your commitment really just to going above and beyond for everyone, not even just your patients, but the community in general. Can you share with us some tips that you have for balancing your passion with your business and kind of avoiding that whole burnout process?
Yeah. So it's something that I'm actually struggling with as we speak. So currently I'm doing, let's take it back 3 months. So 3 months ago, I was looking for another physical therapist. I was, hitting the ad space online pretty heavy and doing Facebook ads and Google ads. And I was really, really busy. But obviously having been on my own for the past year and a half and not being surrounded by mentors, I haven't really been developing my clinical skills. Obviously, I've grown a whole lot as an entrepreneur, but obviously it's just me in the clinic. So there's no one to lean on as far as actual clinical reasoning and how to treat better. So I recently made a commitment to doing a certification course and really just focusing on that and not trying to spread myself thin across other things. So, I mean, you can call it a balance, but I feel like something's got to give sometimes if you want to put yourself all in on one thing. So, I knew that there was the linchpin to growing my business and being more confident in my skill set and my sales came down to just becoming a better clinician, because I'm not naive. I'm only 5 years out of school. There's so much more to learn. And that was one of the things that held me back from starting my business sooner, is because I always felt like, this is not something that a new grad should do. Like, there's so much more to learn. But then I spoke to other people and they told me that they wish they started sooner. So leaning on people like that had those regrets just made me feel like it's not risk burning out, because I'm scared of the fact that I don't know enough yet about the actual clinical part.
Yeah. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Meet our expert team at Miss Biz.
Whether you need help with business strategy, brand development, or digital marketing, we have a personalized one-on-one coaching program just for you.
And if you're looking for something more budget-friendly, our group coaching services offer incredible value and the chance to learn alongside like-minded entrepreneurs.
Transform your business today. Visit missbiz.com and start your journey to success. So when you look back to your time working at the hospital-based practice and you think about how you felt and how your coworkers felt, that they were just really not happy with their career choice, and you look at where you are now, how is that the same or different?
I just feel like I'm able to make more of an impact now with my patients, both from being able to treat them one-on-one and not having to juggle multiple patients at the same time. So I was working in a clinic before with 6 different therapists, so 2 patients each. That can be 12 people on the floor, like patient-wise, so it can feel like a zoo. And that doesn't feel very therapeutic when you're having to tell someone an exercise and then turn your back on them and go to the other patient. Maybe they have questions, maybe they're doing something incorrectly. Maybe they need more than just the exercise and you just sit down and have a 10-minute conversation with them, because physical therapy goes beyond exercise. There's a huge educational component to it that trumps the exercise, in my opinion, especially in the beginning. If someone's dealing with something that's really acute and bothering them, there's no magic exercise that's going to fix you. There's lifestyle changes that are far more important. And by treating 2 to 3 patients at the same time, you can't have those conversations.
Right. But from a business owner standpoint, are you making more money?
Absolutely.
Are you having more freedom and time? And are you overall happy with your decision? I'm asking you this because there are listeners who are going to be battling with these choices and thinking, is it worth it for me to take that leap of faith and start my own business? So is it something that you are happy you did? Would you ever go back? Or is it something that you are looking forward to the future continuing along this path?
I would never go back, but obviously there's ups and downs for sure. Like, the highs are high and the lows are low, and the lows come often. It's not all like sunshine and rainbows all the time. I do get down on myself a lot, and I don't regret my decision, but I know that through this journey over the past 3 years that I don't ever want to work for someone. Not only in physical therapy, like even if this doesn't work out, like I would do something else as an entrepreneur. The freedom to do it, and like how every day is different and it's not a hamster wheel, that's super exciting to me, because it just felt very mundane doing the same thing over and over again. So I mean, if someone's considering starting their own business, I think it's important to figure out your why. Like, why are you wanting to do it? Because you're going to have to fall back on that so many times. So it really has to be ingrained in you, and it can't just be a superficial why. It really has to be a deep why, and it's not something you can just think of on the spot. Like, you really have to do some diving into your past, your future, and what you want if you're going to have a family, what you want for your family. So I mean, I'm able to fall back on my why a lot, and that gives me some clarity.
So what is your why?
So my wife is an artist, so she does ceramics and pottery, and she's extremely passionate about that and has been able to grow her own business around that, and I want to support her in her journey doing that. So I knew that the salary I was making as a staff physical therapist at the hospital was not going to cut it. So being able to have the financial freedom and time freedom to have her do what she loves and raise our eventual family, that's my why.
Brooke stole my question. I was going to ask, what is your why? But I love how important family is to you. And it just sounds like you naturally are just a very caring and thoughtful person, which is exactly the type of person that you want to hire when you're recovering from an injury. So I think that alone speaks volumes as to who you are, not only as a physical therapist, but also as a business owner. So in terms of business, are there any trends or new things that are coming out within your field that you see as a potential learning opportunity for you?
Well, I think cash-based physical therapy is definitely a trend that's growing. I mean, cash-based healthcare and paying out of pocket for a higher level service. It's a very slow wave, but it is growing, and I think that in 10 years from now, people will know more so that you can pay out of pocket for physical therapy, because that's one of the obstacles I have right now, is that people don't even know that that's an option. Mm-hmm. Whether they can afford it or not. I mean, even the people that can't afford it don't know it's an option. They end up in these clinics where they get subpar care, and then it gives the profession a bad name.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that goes for every industry. It's people hear these big names and they think that's the standard, when a lot of times small businesses are going to go above and beyond for their customers, and it just elevates that profession.
Absolutely. How has networking played a role in your business growth?
Yeah, networking's been huge. I mean, even from day one, like sending those emails to concierge doctors and personal trainers and setting up meetings, and eventually joining a networking group and being able to give back to other people. Because you got to give multiple times before you ask for anything, and sometimes you don't even need to ask. It just comes because you've been so generous. So I mean, you can't grow a small business without getting out there and networking and making yourself vulnerable, and flexing that muscle of talking about yourself and genuinely being interested in what others are doing and how you can support them.
Well, earlier you were talking about your name, New Horizon, and you specifically mentioned that it wasn't named Dan Komforti. But I feel like with the word comfort, there is so much that you could do in terms of marketing. Have you ever played around with a tagline that used the word comfort in it?
I haven't. I've thought of it, even when I was thinking of the name. I mean, it's a good idea. I'm not opposed to doing something like that. But again, like I said before, I want the brand to be beyond just me, because I do want to grow a team eventually. So I feel like that if I really try to hone in on my name, it may limit the expansion of the actual brand. But I'm sure it can be done tactfully. And
I'm going to tell you right now, as someone who has been through physical therapy, it was not comfortable. I broke my arm. It's been probably 20 years ago now, and had surgery, and I had to go through physical therapy, and it was incredibly painful, probably one of the most painful things that I've had to do, but it definitely helped me, and I gained back a lot of range of motion that I couldn't have otherwise. The one thing that stands out in my mind that I did enjoy was, do they still do this? They had this like, I don't know, container that was heated with like corn.
They do that. It's definitely becoming less and less, but yeah.
Oh, well, that was my only thing I liked. It's like warm corn, like grain.
Yeah.
And you put your hand in and like grab, like open and close your hand, like to just kind of like stretch it and exercise it. And I always look forward to that. Other than that, though, it was pretty painful. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's not fun. No one wants to be in physical therapy.
So, for our listeners, what is one piece of advice that you would give them if they were looking to expand or to grow their business?
I feel like the thing we touched on earlier about not focusing on the easy stuff, not that starting a website and growing a social media presence are easy, but relative to building genuine relationships in person, like, don't let that just be on your to-do list. Like, get out there and do it. Let starting the website be on your to-do list. Like, go out there and, explain to people what you're doing and how you're doing it differently.
And in terms of your business, when should someone reach out to you if they feel like they're in need of physical therapy? What are some key signs or symptoms, aside from obviously injury or recent injury? What are some other ways that people can maybe have a better idea that they need to proceed with physical therapy?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to only be pain. Obviously, it can be a proactive approach where if someone's trying to just improve the performance with a certain sport, or if they have a history of an injury and, they're getting into some new activity and they want to prevent a reoccurrence of that injury, that's the ideal client. Obviously, the person who's not in pain and is trying to be proactive. But like with any injury, if you have a history of it, the highest risk factor for having it again is just the fact that you've had it before.
Right.
And the thing is, with cash-based physical therapy, I have the ability to help my patients that way, versus with insurance, it's not deemed medically necessary if someone's trying to better themselves before they have the injury.
Right. And for our listeners, what is the best way for them to connect with you or reach out to you if they're in need of your services?
Yeah, website's newhorizonsrehabilitation.com.
Okay. And what about your social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, YouTube.
All right. And what's the handle for that?
New Horizons Rehabilitation.
New Horizons Rehabilitation. All right. Well, guys, you heard it from the man himself. Make sure that you are following him, you're sharing his content. It could really help benefit the lives of others. And thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltslegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltsmedia.com. Let's get biz done.